Welcome to the She Ventures podcast, amplifying the voices of incredible women across the globe who are building impactful businesses, movements, careers, and leading purpose-driven lives. Together, we honor the sacredness within each of us and our ability to drive a global collective shift of positive change. I'm your host, Georgina Miranda, founder of She Ventures, social entrepreneur, speaker, adventurer, and activist. Join us as we share wisdom, get real, and inspire each other to rise, thrive, and live with integrity, authenticity, and intention. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Barbara Veiga, a Brazilian performing artist, speaker, and activist committed to environmental awareness, impactful action, and the preservation of the oceans. Throughout her 25-year career, she has embarked on many remarkable journeys, collaborating with esteemed organizations including Greenpeace, Sea Shepherd, Amazon Watch, and others at the forefront of global activism. Author of the book 7 Years and 7 Seas and co-founder of the movement Women's League for the Ocean, Barbara transforms protecting our environment into inspiring and creative forms of expression that help people feel more connected with nature and our planet. Barbara works to inspire and move society through talks, exhibitions, artistic performances, and other communication projects. We hope you enjoy this wonderful conversation today and that it inspires you to explore your own connection with nature and finding a voice for expression. Welcome to the She Ventures podcast. Again, you've heard Barbara's intro. We're so thrilled to have her with us today. Activist, artist, speaker, and friend. Thank you for joining us today and for sharing your story, your passion for nature, and this movement and your work that you're creating to help connect others to nature as well. It's a pleasure to have you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the invitation. Great to be here.
And Barbara, you're a woman of the sea. There's so much I could dive into and talk to. We could probably be here for hours, but let's give people the highlights, right? You spent 7 years at sea. And I like to say that nature gives us new eyes. I know for me, I'm a mountain woman, and I also love the nature, the ocean, really, any nature. But it's really given me a new lens on the world, on life, on what's happening around the planet. And you had a very intimate relationship with the ocean from where you grew up, and also from your time, 7 years, intimately working with the ocean, with the people, with the biodiversity of the ocean. Take us through, you've shared with me this portal of awareness, right, of where it started in your youth, and then there was this portal of awareness that really shaped your work.
So I was 14-year-old, and I remember I was doing some trekking with my friends around Rio de Janeiro. This is where I'm from. This moment, I remember seeing a lot of trash around us. And that was something that really bothered me. I was like, wow, I can't just walk around these beautiful sceneries and ignore that trash over there, right? And then I decided to put some friends together, 4 or 5 friends, and then we started doing this regularly, a beach cleanup. And then suddenly the group was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and sometimes hundreds of people. And then I thought that might be something that everybody should be doing, right? And then bringing awareness throughout the simple act of not ignoring what's not right, it was something that really changed my life forever. So from this weekends, I decided to go deeper and look for international organizations where I can express my feelings and take action, mainly from locally to globally, acting in both ways. So and then I looked for Greenpeace, and it was a reference, right, for me as a 14-year-old. Okay, what's happening out there? Started working locally, and then suddenly I got an invitation just a few years later, sorry. And I jumped on the ship for my very first mission to the Amazon forest. And that was definitely a life-changing experience, because while I was sailing from the south of Brazil all along the coast up to the north, and I saw on the right side the Atlantic Ocean, and the left side the two most famous rivers, Rio Negro and Solimões, with different colors. And I was like, oh my God, I have two colors of rivers here. And then like the ocean, forest and ocean, it's all entangled all together. So that was really a incredible, powerful spiritual time for me. Still remember when I was at the bow looking at this and realizing that I had to continue this journey. And then my 7-year at sea journey started, and it really changed me deeply.
You've sailed all over the world, right? You sailed around the world independently, and then also through these nonprofits.
Exactly. I started with this NGO, and then and I decided to buy a boat with my partner at the time. And for me, it was kind of like, yeah, this is home. I felt like home. And then we went to the Southeast Asia, found a boat, refitted, and then within the time of 5 to 7 months, the boat was ready to go. So I was having half of the year dedicated to start my own journey from Malaysia to Turkey. And then in the other half of the year working for NGOs as a photographer and filmmaker. So that was the beginning of my journey, the 7 years at sea. And then realizing that there are so many important things to talk about and to show people, to discuss in order to see a transformation. And it was, of course, a beautiful experience, but also it's not all romantic, right? People tend to think, oh, you're sailing around the globe. And yes, it was incredible. I had the opportunity to swim with the whales, to have a very close relationship with marine life, and see all this diversity around me in more than 90 countries now. But for me, it's more than this. It's just like realize how much we still have to do. And how much we have to do, it means take action, right? And having important conversations, but also showing people how it is possible to change the world in a more effective way.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that, because I'm sure that many people listening are familiar with organizations like Greenpeace and Sea Shepherd and their amazing work. And also there's a lot of lack of awareness around of like what really is happening on the ocean. And you got to see that firsthand. It's in some cases, we've had many conversations. It's harsh. It's violent. It's distressing. It's sad, right? What's happening. Not only to the nature itself, right, but the impact that it has on local communities and this whole aspect of inner being between all of us, right? That I think can be really easy to disconnect from in our city life. And so maybe share whatever you're comfortable sharing with your reflections on what you saw.
Yeah, I spent 2 years of my life dedicated in a campaign in Antarctica, working for Sea Shepherd at the time. And for me, being a tropical creature, born and raised in Brazil, crossing the entire world, to be out there in the South Pole and witness the whaling, it was quite devastating. This is something that happens. It happened for many, many decades, many years. And it's just like this contrast of being able to see pristine waters and incredible animals, some of them even endangered, being attacked by Japanese whaling fleets. It was quite devastating. But then like being out there with my camera and being able to like document it and physically be between the harpoon and the whale was really something that helped me to see how these things happen at sea. There's no like really control what's happening at sea, right? Like the sea is like this vast, mysterious, liquid with a lot of things happening out there. We only know based on science 20% of the sea. We have so much to discover, and it was something that really touched my heart forever to be out there and see all the beauty and the mysteries, but also like the ocean being treated that way. In the other hand, effective actions created by organizations that are actually doing something for the oceans, right? I also remember incredible, beautiful moments I experienced with indigenous people in the Amazon, where, let's say, everything started in my journey in Brazil when I had the chance to honor these communities that have been in touch with nature since forever, right? Like much, much before us. And that for me was also a sign of hope, to use all this witness from the indigenous communities to help us increase our relationship with nature, either forest and ocean. Remember, we are nature, right? Like it's not disassociated, it's connected with us. So for me, it was a big space created of intimacy with nature, like understanding like every single detail, every plant, every tree, how these trees are connected to the waters, and the waters, as I said in the beginning, like connected with the river, the sweet water and the salt water with the ocean. And that beauty that has been here since forever makes me think that it's kind of my responsibility to keep doing this work using not only my voice, but also the art that I use as an important tool to bring awareness and bring more connection mainly to people.
Yeah. No, I love that. And so much of what you're saying resonates. I say I'm really inspired and have been inspired by the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, who's no longer with us, but his teachings and love, I think, are alive and well throughout the world. He coined the term interbeing. So teaching around this interbeing state that I feel most when I'm in nature. You feel like you are part of something so much bigger than yourself. And you can feel that connection and love between you and the nature and you. And yes, and I think right now our greatest threat is this illusion of separation, that we're somehow separate from the nature, that something outside of us that we have to protect, when it's everything in us, because the reality is we can't survive without it either. So we need each other. And so and tying this now back to your work, art, using art as a powerful means to inspire change, so here you were at sea 7 years, you've had all these amazing experiences, you've seen a lot of inspiring things firsthand, and you've seen a lot of injustice firsthand. What was that transition moment for you, that you wanted to transition your work from the way you had been using your voice and using your skills and talents, to now utilizing art as a way for connection and a vehicle for change?
For many years, I was working for big organizations and even being a co-founder of a movement in Brazil. But I realized that I needed to do something else. I needed to reach people's emotions. I needed, first of all, understand where my emotions were after witnessing so much environmental crime throughout my life, from the Amazon to Antarctica, right? And after seeing so much of painful situations, either like endangered species like tuna being hunt in an illegal way, like where people change the boats names, their numbers of everything, like to make sure they're like chasing more and more species and not having any control of that. I think experiences like this really like brought me to locations, like to situations and emotions that was like, oh my God, there's so much going on. I can't handle all these things, right? Like, and for me, it was very important to go back in time, look at my timeline, and remember what was the joy, like what was the, because I knew my purpose, but what was the joy in this purpose? And then, because I studied theater, singing, and arts being present in my life since I'm a kid, I always to love to sing and do different activities related to either nature and art. I realized that I had to go back and explore more of this into my work. And at the moment, I realized that after the 7 years at sea and documenting all these campaigns and missions, I looked inside, I closed my eyes, and I decided to take that step. And then when I started performing, right, being on stage, remembering all my theater studies and shows and things that I've done in the past, I realized that I could combine things. I could bring my passion from nature and put in a way that would actually touch people in a different level. And for me, it was an incredible experience to just being able to bring other artists to my performances, where I can explore, music, poetry, dancing. So I worked with musicians, choreographers, custom designers, and every performance, it brings an emotion. It brings a form of expression and connection with the audience. So my hope is to open people's eyes through their hearts, and using live painting and singing, creating scripts that would, in a different way, bring awareness to nature. It made more sense to me. And it's been amazing, really a beautiful journey, because I'm still doing what I love, but I realized that I could actually combine all these things together and make sure that we are navigating through the same waters, through the same emotions, to the same direction. And at the end, if I'm preparing something special, an experience, immersive experience like that for conferences, events, big, maybe companies, experiences, it's all about people, right? Yeah. It's all about who we are and what we're doing here, where we come from, and where we're going next.
Yeah. And I think the beauty of your work as well is helping connect those dots for people as well, right? And help them hopefully see themselves as part of all of this as well. Not something separate.
Yes, I believe that we only can change the world through love. It's the only way. Of course, direct action and all the things that I've been involved throughout my career in the past, they were extremely important for me to see that together, like this collective power that move us, right? We have incredible examples from Gandhi, and many other incredible voices that came to the world to express the potential of human connection and human collective power. We can change the world. I truly believe that. But it's only now, like, and how we do that, and how we approach people. Because I don't think being radical in a way that is aggressive, that can change the world. I believe, like, when we have radical love, we explore different fields, because we are talking about survival, we're talking about beauty, we're talking about these sources that comes from nature that maintain us here alive, right? More than 60% of the oxygen that we breathe comes from the sea. It doesn't matter where you live in the world, if it's in the top of the mountain, the desert, we breathe the sea. We are the sea.
Yeah. And we are water, right? Our bodies are made up of mostly water. So, I mean, every
Yeah,
which way you look scientifically, holistically, I mean, we all tie back to that we're all connected, right? And
absolutely.
I believe that as well, that love has the power to change the world, and also that each of us has a role to play, right? I share that sense of responsibility and the environments that I spend a lot of time in the mountains and seeing glaciers melt, and also the impact that has on local communities. If I see that, then I have a responsibility to do something about it and share it, right? Not just post nice pictures of look where I went and what I did. Um, and this collective change, I believe, this consciousness, it's elevating. I also believe that how do we change the world also with awareness? And that starts with ourselves, right? Our inner awareness, and awareness drives change, because once you see something, you can't unsee it. So,
Yeah.
I think we share that in common in different ways. And so tying back to the art, because your art is vast, right? You have photography, you do your live paintings, your performances, and you collaborate with other artists. Let's talk about art as a powerful means to evoke change, and why that is such a powerful tool to utilize for collective action.
Yeah, well, throughout the history of the world, we have seen um, so much contribution in terms of art, right? Like it's very easy when we close our eyes, look at our lives, and like who doesn't really like got touched by a song, a theater piece, or it's so incredible how arts transform us internally and have the capability to um, change the way we feel. For me, using art as a form of expression, it's somehow help people to heal from the wounds, heals from the wounds of the world, and what's happening. It's all connected to our ancestors. The way that we used to live years ago is not the same the way that you're living now. And I think art can be an interesting vehicle to help people to look at this bridge of time and transform our story, transform the way we see the world, transform our attitude, the way we make smarter choices based on this song that we hear, this dance, this piece of art that we got inspired by. Because for every artist, it's very important to have that space of freedom, of expression, and we do have the hope to connect with people and make people feel the same, because at the end we all have that inner space of questions of what's gonna happen, for me, for the world, and I think it's fascinating to see how art can transform us, and how this way we can be transformed can create a society with more connection with each other, and that means nature too, right? For me, when I look at to the photography and film career that I designed so far, and then combined theater, singing, dancing, live painting. For me, it's like everything makes sense. It's hard to describe. I just do. I just go. It's very free, spontaneous, and honest. Because when I am on stage, it's almost like it's not me anymore. It's something else, because I'm here representing the responsibility of healing the world through art, and using all these tools as a way to perhaps move people's towards to a different direction among other people who are doing the same, who are creating space for these open minds and a new way to experience the world. So when we put our feet in the ground, right, when we feel the soil, earth above us, like it's relaxing, right? It helps us to connect with Mother Earth, connect with the land, like the smells. It's like everything around us change when we allow ourselves to be in this place, right?
Yeah.
I trust art is the same. It's this possibility of take your shoes off,
Mm.
and open your heart purely to an experience that can transform you and others around you.
Yeah.
So it's more than just a painting, it's more than just a song. It's like it's the effect that this experience, this immersive experience, um, can create long term, can stay in you, can go through your bones, you know. So
Mm.
like my hope is to create these kind of experiences that make people reflect and act after feeling all these things. So I studied a lot of neuroscience. I do my trainings and dance. I'm really dedicated into ways to understand people's minds and art and mix all this to help people to go to these emotions and experience these immersive performances in a way that they would at least reflect, you know,
Yes.
and talk with other people. So it's been amazing, really, like because it's not only helping to transform the world, but also like helping to transform myself in the process.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And your journey, we're all on a journey, right? And so it's I like to say that we're all in constant evolution, right? And
Yeah.
so that's the beauty also to give ourselves that opportunity to do that. Like how magical, if you can look back to you on the beaches of Rio de Janeiro at 14 to now, right? It's a massive evolution of yourself, of your work, of your impact. And we are all meant to be here for a reason, right? And so that's also the beauty in exploring what that is and how we share that with the world, because we all have our gifts to share with the world as well.
Gifts to share and questions to ask, right? Because if we are alive, we continue to have questions. It's a sign that we are interested in this beautiful existence, right? And how can we move forward? I love this opportunity that we are having here, right? To discuss nature, to talk about different ways to empower nature, to help each other, to support each other, also as a safe space and community, right? Because it's about experiencing life in a different level, but also understand why we are here all connected, why we are doing all these things. So when I was a kid, I used to write imaginary letters to my parents from imaginary places. And I remember that I had a lot of questions that actually these imaginary letters from different places brought me to all these answers, you know. So humans are like endless possibilities. We have like infinite possibilities
Yeah.
inside us. That's what makes me feel to have more hope in society and look into the ocean in a different way with more care, with more love. There are incredible initiatives happening right now, right? Like people vacuuming the garbage from the ocean, and going for more like effective actions to see results, immediate results. Of course, we need more people involved, right? It's a lot of work to do, a lot of action to take. So I see this as like a beginning of a revolution throughout love and all these skills that we humans can have, and hopefully to create a massive change in terms of creating strategies that would touch people and companies and politicians and governments and NGOs everywhere.
Definitely. And that's the thing. It is, we've talked a lot about this power of collective, but the reality is also that it's not one person that can save anything. The ocean, the glaciers, anything, right? The planet itself, it's going to take all of us and the shift in behaviors in our daily lives and how we run our businesses and how we coexist with everything around us. And yes, sometimes to spark that change is inspiration, and it is sparking that love within ourselves for the connection to everything around us. So I love that. And this conversation, I love what I do and working with women around the world and helping elevate voices and sharing our voices. Also, because we're in such an interesting time of transition into the divine feminine and really having space to express the divine feminine and how we lead and how we drive change, which is different. And share a little bit with that, if you're comfortable sharing, around stepping into your divine feminine and how that comes out now in your art and it's expressed in your art and your work.
I think it's a very important topic. It's a recent, let's say, like in the past 10 years that I started really to looking at this feminine power and how we should embrace that and work on this together. Mainly because I guess society was created, and also the country I was born, Brazil, it did not really encourage, I did not feel that encourage us to look at this feminine side and how important it is to honor that. In a way that it also, like throughout my life, I was working on ships, right? I was documenting environmental crimes, and the majority of people sailing when I started sailing was male. So I guess like the fact that not so many women were encouraged to be in this environment, because I guess historically people see like, oh yeah, sailors, tough people, and has to be a man because the woman stay at home doing, taking care of the family, perhaps, most of the cases, I guess, right? But then like life showed me that it is possible to do different things, and different things means like whatever my heart calls, like what's the call now? And I started seeing, like, from this past decades, this opportunity for more women, for more girls to go out there and express themselves. It doesn't matter, what they were doing. And of course, like now it's more common to hear this topic. But I think the divine feminine, it's a super important knowledge to explore. And I'm still exploring, I'm still learning, being part of groups to discuss about it, to create moments of exchange, to honor all the stages of nature, the moon, our moon. So I think this is super important to create a certain kind of a connection with ourselves, because when we are connected with our superpowers, let's say, connected with like, wow, what's inside me that I even don't know yet that can be explored, it helps us to connect better with our communities, right? And I encourage all men to be part of it, to respect that, to help other women to find that space of full expression and trust and openness, because it's all right. And when I look back with all the indigenous women that I had the chance to meet and spend months together while in the Amazon, either from Brazil side or Peruvian side, it was so much there, so much wisdom that I could see, and experience just a tiny bit of it, just for a few months or the times I came back there. But I feel like the more we talk about it, the more we read, the more we exchange, we have that safe space where we can discover more inside of ourselves, reading, like every cell in our body, and creating new space for new women to be integrated in that incredible knowledge that is out there. It's within us, but it's also out there. So the sea, for me, it's interesting because the sea, it can be in French, it's la mer, it's feminine, right? And in Portuguese, it's masculine. So I always understood the sea as like this mix of energies, right? Where you can be calm, you can be intense, you can be stormy. And I almost see the sea as like one divine creature, right? That for me sounds much more personally feminine than masculine. And I love it, you know, with all these possibilities we have now. And I'm really hoping that the divine feminine can be more explored in terms of talks and allowing us as women to have a better life, to find our space with kindness, with acceptance, and mainly respect.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And it's interesting what you say about the ocean and being feminine, right, in French. And so going back to the mountains, also in Spanish would be, you would talk about la montaña. So it's also feminine. And even though mountaineering is quite a masculine sport, for
Mm-hmm.
me, anytime I spend in the mountains is when I connect to my divine feminine in such a beautiful, powerful way. And I call every mountain a goddess. And you know, and it's interesting because some people look at me like I'm from outer space when when I share, because it's also the narrative and stories we've put around, right, these spaces and how they've been explored.
Yeah.
And you know, still this aspect of conquering and conquest. You can think of, you know, the early days of exploration, right? Across the sea was very much stories of conquest, of survival, of you know, and not this connection with something so vast and magical, you know, that did open the doors of possibility, right, to connect the entire world. Um, but it was done through a means of conquest. And I can say the same for the mountains. A lot of the stories are these stories of conquering a mountain, of first summits of things. And, you know, I'm like, the mountain is not to be conquered. I mean, in 1 second, she decides whether you get to take another step or not. So that's just the reality of how it goes. And this is, I think, also the beauty of the divine feminine is it brings a different narrative to how we lead, how we connect with ourselves, how we express. And I believe spaces like this, and I also hope that they continue to grow, to encourage other communities, cultures also to bring this level of openness, because I want to acknowledge our privilege to have this conversation, that there's still many women around the world that couldn't have this conversation and that don't have access to the most basic things, like education, like their rights, you know, and that there is still a lot of work to do. And I believe that there's this very powerful connection with protecting nature, Mother Earth, and the divine feminine. You know, they're both the life force. We're both the life force for the planet.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage anyone too that's listening, you know, that if this is sparking anything in you and how to find a form of expression, that this conversation hopefully has given you some inspiration there to keep exploring that. And I love what you said, that you're still exploring your divine feminine, because I do believe that's a life journey. It's not
Oh
something
yeah.
you
It's
explore
endless.
once and you're like, cool, I found it. I'm good now, you know. Yeah, it's giving ourselves that permission to keep in that.
Yes, and also like it's so great to have this space here. You know, She Ventures, to have other women involved to create that harmony and important discussions, right? Like I was saying, like I encourage men to be involved and help more women, but also like to women to continue to like this wave of knowledge to be shared, right? I think the more we do that, the more we see the results of creating space for important changes, right? Like Simone de Beauvoir, incredible writers, for example, create that space for us. So use your tools, right? Use your tools, your best tools to keep sharing the importance of our existence here on Earth, and hopefully contributing more and more for better exchange and better community and better life for ourselves. We're talking about this journey that it's only one, and it's like so powerful to understand that we have now the privilege of have that space to exchange, to talk, to ask for support, right? And be able to not only stay with whatever you have inside in terms of questions, pain, uncertainty about life and the future, like we can use all that and support each other. And I think this is amazing. Like the collective power is something that can really transform lives in many different levels, because we're talking about mental health. We're talking about being part of something that's much, much bigger, right? And once we feel that in our, veins in our life, like, yeah, I'm contributing, I'm sharing, we are learning here, we are growing together. And like, I'm sure that we are going to be in our 80s, 90s, 100-year-old full of energy to be shared.
Yes. Definitely. I think of my great grandmothers; they both lived into their hundreds. So I'm like, who knows? Anything is possible, right? I want to share with people how they can connect with you. So obviously, you shared that you create experiences and performances, that you exhibit, and then you also work with organizations. So maybe share with the audience how they can connect with you, and please also share your book that you wrote and how people can find it.
So this is 7 anos em 7 mares, 7 years in 7 seas. It's the book I wrote. It's a journal about the 7 years I lived at sea. It's written first person. It's about my journey, deciding to leave everything behind, comfort, friends, living in the city to be out at sea and help the world and show what was going on out there, either living on my own boat or working for big NGOs. People can find me on my website, Barbara Veiga, VEIGA.com, either for performances or lectures. I'm always open to be part of interesting collaborations for events, conferences. I'm here to share in a very creative way a form of connection with Earth, with the ocean, and all these topics that we explored here in terms of awareness. We're now in this moment where we need that space of inspiration to continue the journey that we have here in a different level of connection. So yes, if you want, I can also you can also follow me on my Instagram, Barbara Veiga Official.com, and yes, I'm always open for collaborations and interesting exchanges. I'll be happy to connect with this beautiful community you have here and keep shining together.
Thank you so much. And I'll be sure to share links to Barbara's website, her Instagram. She has some amazing videos that are just a little bit of a teaser of the beautiful performances that she creates on YouTube as well. And her website links to her book. And yeah, so many wonderful ways to keep sharing and keep getting inspired as well, and reminding ourselves of this interconnection, this state of inner being that we all have available to us every day to connect more deeply with nature and with ourselves. So, Barbara, thank you so much for being with me, with us, for sharing your love, your wisdom, your passion for nature, for the sea, and for humanity. And I can't wait to see your journey continue and evolve, and share your work with everyone here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here with you, which is such an important conversation. And I see you very soon. Fair winds, everyone. keep shining, keeping trust that we together can create impact, positive impact to our beautiful world and our beautiful oceans.
Thank you.